Good evening, everybody. I'd like to adjourn the Special Board of Education closed session and reconvene the Special Education open session at 7:04. We're all here in our places. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The roll call will show that we're all here. We had a closed session prior to this and we took no reportable action. Ms. Huff, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Up first, this is kind of neat. And I hope we have a nice size audience because Danny Ray is a great teacher and we're going to be introduced to him this evening. Dr. Tarosian.
Thank you, President Hammond, members of the board. I am delighted to introduce our Teacher of the Year, Mr. Danny Ray, who is at Clifton Middle School and has been there for 10 years. He is extraordinary and exemplifies all of the best qualities of our Monrovia staff. He is expert, compassionate, and always goes 100% for our students, always trying to show that extra level of care. And I am so happy about his selection and really to have somebody as remarkable as Mr. Ray representing us with the County Teacher of the Year selection. I would like to invite Mr. Ray so he can be seen by our audience. And there he is. And invite Principal Jennifer Jackson to tell us a little bit more about him.
Good evening, Board President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Tarosian, District Office Administration, and the Monrovia community. It is my honor to be here tonight to say some very special words about the spectacular Danny Ray and his amazing accomplishment of being named Monrovia Unified Teacher of the Year. Danny Ray is outstanding in every way and so talented that he teaches in 3 different departments: social science, Renaissance leadership, and PE. This is Danny's 10th year at Clifton, but this decade only represents half of his career in education as a teacher. 10 years ago, we made a spectacular decision in hiring. Danny really is a jack of all trades, and Clifton is so fortunate to have him serving in the capacity of teacher. Danny comes to work every day with the goal of providing connections to students. He builds his classroom with the underlying foundation of high structure coupled with strong relationships. This equation creates happy, creative, and inspired kids that work hard to learn, grow, and expand their thinking. He is always at work with pep and positivity because he sincerely believes every interaction has its purpose. He deeply understands the complexity of adolescent behavior and is masterful at holding the line, but spreading the love. He is talented in every way. When I think of Danny Ray, I think of a Jedi. And maybe that picture you can see right now is exemplary of that word. A Jedi is defined as a keeper of peace and justice who exemplifies sacrifice and compassion, but who can regulate and hold accountable when no other options are available. This is Danny Ray, day in, day out, all of the time at Clifton. Here are what some of his colleagues have shared about him. Thank you, Danny, for always going above and beyond for our Clifton students. Your spirit is one of a kind, and the students love your charismatic self. Mr. Ray is a teacher that helps kids to become motivated to get involved both academically and socially. He gives 1,000% to the students of Clifton Middle School and is ready to support them every step of the way. He is the biggest hype man that Clifton could have ever wanted and needed. The energy he puts out is something that helps us all, even on our toughest days. Danny's a true leader, a fantastic teacher, a great man, and an amazing family man to his beautiful family. We are lucky to have Danny Ray on our Clifton Cub team. Danny Ray is always positive, going the extra mile, and has a huge heart for kids. He is always thinking about the differently abled students and works to make sure the campus is inclusive and welcoming to all. I have had the pleasure of being a parent to 2 students that he has taught, as well as working closely with him as assistant principal. I have always held him in the highest regard because of his teaching abilities and positive interactions with students. I believe his duties are not just a job, but rather a lifestyle, as his work transcends the classroom. He is a consummate professional who is kind, caring, empathetic, and dedicated to his craft of guiding students and their education and providing opportunities for their growth. I admire his work ethic and feel lucky to have him part of our team. He brings so much positivity to Clifton. Everything positive you've heard about Mr. Ray is true. What I would like to point out is that Danny Ray is not only a respected and admired colleague, but he will also take the time to be there as a supportive friend with an ear. Both my work life and personal life are enriched because of his kind and generous nature. Danny Ray leads. He's dependable, responsible, trustworthy, energetic, sees the good in people, and is enjoyable to work with. Danny Ray boggles my mind. He manages to get more done in one day than I can ever dream of doing. And he manages to do all of this with optimism and undeniable poise. He is definitely the cool teacher on campus. Despite all of the extracurricular activities he manages to juggle, he is still fundamentally an excellent teacher. He has positive relationships with kids, parents, and staff. He is epic, atomic, a leadership gladiator rock star. Danny, and I'm looking right at you, you have made this decade of imprints on the lives of Clifton students, staff, and parents. I am so proud to call myself your principal and to be your fellow colleague. And on behalf of all of us, we congratulate you on this honorable recognition and thank you for the sacrifice that has brought you here today. You are Cub-mazing.
Well, thank you. Dr. T said I could have a couple minutes, and I definitely need to after that. Thank you, Jen. That means the world to me. And I got to tell you, this last decade has been life-changing in a lot of ways for me. I really want to thank a couple people really quick. I know my wife is in the other room, and I hope she's listening. I got to thank her first. Originally, when I moved here from LAUSD, there was a bit of a financial hit that we took initially, but my wife, man, she backed me up 100%. And then my 2 kids, they had to go through Clifton with me there, and I know that was a challenge for them. And so God bless them. I love them for that. I wanted to go low key. That was my goal, go low key stealth mode those first couple years at Clifton. But a couple weeks in, Courtney Glass, took a walk with me, and he's like, hey, what do you think about maybe taking over the leadership program? And so stealth mode went out the window, and I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And Courtney, he didn't just leave me to hang out there. He backed me up. He had my back. He worked tireless hours after school with me. So Courtney, if you're out there, thank you. I appreciate it. Jen, are you kidding me? To learn from, talk about a Jedi, to learn from literally a Hall of Famer. She took me under her wing and she taught me everything that I know about leadership, about Renaissance. And Jen, this last decade with you has been absolutely amazing. And I am so grateful for you and for your friendship, for your leadership. Means the world to me. Rich Morrison, I just barely started working with that guy, but he's taken over right where Courtney left off. He's had my back as well. I got to really quick give a shout out to our office managers, the 2 that I've worked with, because they are the unsung heroes of our schools. Jan Marlia and Enrique Samuta, they have been in my corner, and I could not be here without them. And then finally, I want to recognize our staff at Clifton. I think so highly of our staff, and specifically the teachers there. I grow every day just by listening, by watching them. And so really, without sounding cliche, it's like everybody that I just thanked, and even beyond that, it's like I want to share this with you, because I wouldn't be sitting here without that support and without those relationships. And it just means the world to me. So thank you all.
And I could see that in the audience here, there are a couple of students who may also want to say, or former students even, may want to say a couple of things. Is that right?
You want to?
You want to?
I'm off mute.
Hi, Mr. Ray. Congratulations on getting Teacher of the Year. You really deserve it.
Thank you.
I'm wearing my merch.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for representing. I miss you guys.
Say hi.
Miss you too, Mr. Ray.
Congratulations. Well deserved. I got to see you in action as well as a parent and as a school board member, and you are definitely amazing.
Thank you.
Sure, it's a pleasure having you. Thank you for coming out. I know it's difficult on Zoom, but we really, really appreciate everything you do, Danny. You make us a much better place, and thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Mr. Ray, Evelyn is here and has decided to all of a sudden be bashful.
That's okay. That's okay, Evelyn.
But she's really excited and happy for you, and I am too. I'm just so excited and happy for you, and I'm so excited and happy for our kids that they get to experience you and all of the great things. So thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Now we have a special video. We think we might be able to make it work. And as Charles and Shoshana behind the scenes try and navigate this, I want to also clarify that this was what we showed during the September 8th meeting, where I couldn't contain my enthusiasm. It was right after we had told you, and I wanted to announce it during my superintendent's report. So it's not like we got the date wrong. This is the second time we're showing it. Charles, Shoshana, any luck with that, or will we need to come back to it?
I'm sorry, I don't have the video. Charles?
I'm working on it. Give me 1 minute, if you guys can.
Okay. So, anybody else have anything to say about Mr. Ray? Because now there were some other people in the audience that I think are here specifically for Mr. Ray, and I sure would like for them to see the video, because I know that they are here for him and that they are here to support him, and because of his commitments, they are committed to him. So, and Mr. Ray, I understand that you have a special Star Wars commitment, connection.
Well, you know what? It's like I thought maybe I should take that lightsaber shot down, but I'm like, what the heck, man? That's kind of cool. So I've kept it up. I put it up during in the spring when we first started the online, and then I just kept it up the whole time. And even today, I'm like, whoops, I should probably make that look a little more professional. But I was like, oh, what the heck? And then thankfully, Jen brought in the Jedi stuff. So thank you, Jen, for doing that. Perfect.
It looks great. I wouldn't take it down either. But I think we may have a video here. Thanks, Charles.
He motivates everybody that he sees to just be a better person, a better student, everything. He just wants us to try our best, and he motivates us. And it's honestly so cool because he has encouraged me and motivated me to do better in school, and he has given me so many opportunities with the Renaissance Leadership Program and just in class in general. He always has a smile on his face, and I honestly think that he's one of the best teachers out there.
I really appreciate having Mr. Ray as my teacher for Renaissance Leadership because of his kind personality and ability to make everyone around him feel included and recognized. Not only is he an amazing teacher, but he's also just an incredible person in general.
Mr. Ray to us means so much because he always has our backs and he's always there for us. And he's such a great teacher and staff member to be around because he just overall makes everything better.
Congratulations, Mr. Ray, on the MUSD Teacher of the Year Award. You are so deserving of this award. You are the most caring, compassionate, kind teacher I know. You're always making your class feel welcoming and just overall awesome. I'm so happy that you got this award. You go always the extra mile to always make us feel so happy. And remember, if you...
And I think it was split up into two parts. So I'm going to open up the next one shortly.
It does go to remind you that we're teaching children, not subjects. And what they are walking away with is that feeling. So thank you. That and the fact that I'm sure if you had one wish, you'd say, can you please keep your cameras on during class?
Hey, seeing that this is a commercial break, Dr. Tarosian, I thought I'd take the opportunity. This is Dr. Jackson, Assistant Superintendent of HR, just to say Mr. Ray is going to be recognized on Thursday, October 1st at 4 p.m. by the LA County Office of Education, along with a host of other LA County Teachers of the Year. So many of us have attended that particular function, and so that's going to be an honor for him to be along with many other great teachers. Okay, and we're back.
Better. Congratulations, Mr. Ray, on the MUSD Teacher of the Year Award. You are so deserving of this award. You are the most caring, compassionate.
Mr. Ray is the overall cool,
kind teacher I know. You're always making your class feel welcoming and just overall awesome. I'm so happy that you got this award. You go always the extra mile to always make us feel so happy. And remember, if you go and celebrate in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I just want to take a second to thank Mr. Ray because he is such an amazing teacher. He is so inspiring and overall such an amazing person. He has given me so many opportunities in Renaissance leadership, and he is such an amazing teacher. He is so supportive and so inspiring. He is such a great teacher, and he is very good at doing his job, and I just want to say thank you.
Hi, Mr. Ray. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being the greatest teacher I have ever had personally. I want to say thank you so much for showing us Renaissance students how to be brave and never give up, and showing us a fun way to make the school a better place. And as beyond for me,
Thank you, Charles, for working through those. And Mr. Ray, congratulations.
That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you to the kids. And I see those teachers who are here today. Thank you for being here. And thank you, everybody, for making this happen for me. I really appreciate all of you.
You deserve it. Thanks for being here. Well, you know, I can hardly wait so we can go do these things in person, because if I ever wanted to shake somebody's hands, Danny's right now. Because of you, we are the district that we are, Danny. I cannot begin to thank you enough. And I just feel in this Zoom environment, it's cold and impersonal, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
One day we'll be back in a boardroom. Up next, we will go to informational report. So the public will know the school board made a commitment this last summer to be as transparent as possible to our community in the steps that we're taking to do distant learning. The environment changes constantly, And so in order to make it so that our community has the best information as soon as possible, we have committed to doing these special meetings until we get back into whatever some sense of normalcy will look like. Our goal is to make sure our parents are knowing that we support them and supporting your student. And we will continue to do this as long as it takes until the time comes when we are into an easier to understand way of doing our education. Anyway, Dr. Terosian, will you please give an update?
Certainly. Today's distance learning update focuses on two main areas. The first is an update from our special education subcommittee. And with us is Jennifer Johnson, who will walk us through the good work that her committee has done. So, Jennifer.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. So this is our Special Education Subcommittee Board update. So thank you all for having me this evening. I appreciate taking the time. On the next slide. In this presentation, I'm going to quickly take you guys through who participates in the Special Education Subcommittee, when we've met and when we are meeting, what we've accomplished so far, and the tasks ahead of us that we're currently working on. Next slide. So who we are. The folks that are in our subcommittee are Monrovia parents. We have about 4 parents that have been sticking with us regularly. It has become a little more difficult to find times that work for everyone, but we've got some parents in there that are sticking with us. I just want to side note say it's been an absolute blessing having them, because they are shedding a lot of light on what they're going through and experiences, and giving us that insight on what needs to happen for their students. Also, special education teachers, all of them are invited, and different ones come to different meetings, but they're all invited to all of them. It just depends on which ones come. We've had a pretty consistent group, so all of our special education teachers are in there, all of our school psychologists, all of our speech pathologists, occupational therapists, adaptive PE, or program specialists. They're all in the meetings with us. We have met on the following dates over here to the right-hand side. We just met yesterday. I'm like, was that yesterday? Everything's bleeding together. But yes, we just actually met previously on all of these dates. And we have another meeting in 2 weeks from now. So those are our dates we're meeting. It's still an open invitation, and we would love to have others join us. Now that school's up and running, like I said, it has been difficult to find some commonality in times that are going to work for everyone. So we're doing the best we can to keep meeting on a consistent basis. So when we first started meeting, it was in order to get going with our first ever virtual extended school year program, and to do all the planning and pull off the first ever virtual extended school year. That was why we first started getting together. And then it kind of grew when we got together to do our webinar. So we did the first ever special education webinar prior to school starting, with the intent of going through the hybrid model, which very quickly turned into virtual model. And then we did a follow-up Q&A where we answered all the Q&As. So that was when we started getting together as a subcommittee over the summer. When fall hit us, then we started bringing in other individuals, because that's when all of our staff was back, and invited parents to join us. So in our fall meetings, the subcommittee kind of evolved into what it is now. And we started meeting to prepare for the school year and put finalizations, if you will, on our virtual plans. And then we quickly started in the summer, but completed in the fall, the in-person assessment possibilities to take place at our evaluation centers. And we currently have one fully up and operating, and our second one, which will be taken off within the next week or so over at the CELC. And those are allowing for our assessments to take place. We also worked on, as a subcommittee, scheduling the services, all the related services around the new framework once it was built for our virtual plans for the school year. So we took the elementary and secondary plan and then developed a way for us to be able to provide our students with the related services that they're in need of. And then we set up virtual academic testing options because it was very evident that that was also in need. So we've developed with the subcommittee ways to conduct some virtual academic testing options as well. And then next slide. So upcoming topics that we're starting to take a hold of, if you will, as the subcommittee are one that we're focusing on right now that was our main focus topic. We're calling it phase 1 is our in-person assessments at the sites. So we're trying to move from having just our assessments taking place at these evaluation centers once we have the learning pods up and running at the school site locations, to also allow for some in-person assessments to take place at the sites with the exact same model that's in place regarding the safety procedures and COVID-19 screenings. We're going to re-implement that, recreate it at the site level so that it kind of frees up the staff to be able to conduct more assessments at a higher rate, because right now we're very limited with the space and scheduling options for the in-person assessments to take place. And then the other future topics, which we're taking one at a time, is in-person services to take place for some of our students that are definitely in need at this time, or who are struggling with the virtual distance learning. Learning pod integration is just trying to sort out how our students can be served during the integration of the learning pods that are going to be happening on our school campuses. And then we'll be following up with the last two items, which is small group cohorts for special education, options for in-person actual services and instruction to take place. And then we're also using this as a platform to discuss and analyze our targeted review selection data from the California Department of Education. Next slide. All right, so on here, it doesn't update the video. On here, we actually have several links to the videos. The CLC video is done. Now it says it's in progress, but I guess when I updated it, it didn't transfer over to this one. But there's an assessment center video for, it's called ATP because that's where it's located. It's the video that goes out to our staff and students that walks them through the process when we're conducting an in-person assessment. And there's also one that's been completed for the CELC, also available to be shared with staff and students' families. And the students, so that they're all aware and have a really good understanding prior to agreeing to engage in coming to the evaluation center regarding what the whole entire process will look like, what the expectations are, the safety protocol and procedures that are in place are all embedded in the very informative videos. And then we have our September monthly newsletter, so you can click on that for me. And that just will, this is just a nice one-stop shop with all the videos and information that's being sent out to the staff. On the right-hand side is the Making It Happen videos. On a weekly basis, we're sending out little motivational videos that are highlighting our staff and the great things they're doing. It's also a way to share resources, great things that are happening in our classrooms, so that we're getting the word out for others to be able to utilize some of those strategies and skills are all highlighted in the Making It Happen. The Don't You Forget About Me section is just reminders that we're sending out to staff in a more playful way, because a lot of emails are getting exchanged and we're trying to get away from having additional emails. And then the other links are for our staff to be able to have the virtual assessment training videos and slides, and then the questions and answers that went with both of them. We're also meeting with our instructional aides on a weekly basis and And we're having training videos for them as well. So that's just the monthly newsletter. You can go back to the presentation. And then we have our Strong and Paths meetings where we're meeting on Thursdays. And so it's 1 week of Strong and then there's another week of Paths. There's the links to both of those if you want to click on one just to show the flyer. And this is Special Trainings, Resources, Opportunities Networking Group is what STRONG stands for. And that's every first Thursday, 1:30 to 2:30. And then again at 5:30 to 6:30. There's the link to join us and all the dates that we're going to be meeting. And we invite everyone to come out, and we want to see more parents in there. These are really great opportunities for us to discuss further special education and just get to know our parents. And then the PATHS is Parents Access to Healing, and that's more of a group of parents that are getting together and discussing some other areas of concern. The STRONG is more sharing resources and that kind of thing. So we've got both of those meetings happening, and please, parents, come out. And then the last item on this particular slide is our website that we have created for both staff and parents with lots of information and links. So if you want to click on the parent one real quick, and that will take you to a plethora of information with layers and layers of resources, a calming page, support services, social skills, behavior supports. Our BCBA right now is creating some great behavior support videos. A lot of parents have been asking us for assistance with mask desensitization, and he is making those videos right now to be able to send out to parents who are struggling with ways that we can help our students wear a mask or keep a mask on in an appropriate manner. A lot of them are preparing for the possibility of coming back to school, and that's one of the biggest worries that's getting communicated to us. So we're working closely with our board-certified behavioral analyst, Mr. Javier Ruiz, to come up with some of those on that behavior tab right there, and the link will take you to a bunch of other supports in regards to behavior. You can go back to the presentation. And then the next slide. So this is just some subcommittee follow-up that we're still working with our department on, getting additional plexiglass in place. And this is all just in preparation. We have plexiglass, we have our PPE materials for our in-person assessments, and in preparation for bringing back some potential in-person services and the assessments to take place on sites. We're gathering a bunch of lots of resources with our nurse, who I know was on here for other reasons. So she is overwhelmed and overworked as we're getting all of these resources in place for those next steps in our subcommittee plans. And that is the next slide. I think there was one more slide. Nope. All right. And that's it. Any questions or follow-up?
I'm unmuting. Any questions of Jennifer?
I have some questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I noticed on one of your first slides, you were talking about some videos, and then on a subsequent slide, you were talking about the newsletter. Where would parents find the videos on that newsletter?
So the videos for the assessment centers are being sent out as they're being invited to come over to have their child assessed at the evaluation center. So it is not like just posted on our website or anything. It's something that assessor, when they're reaching out to the parent to set up a date to come in and have their student evaluated, and then they do a pre-screening, and then they say, let me send you this video link and you're going to watch it. And so you can walk through. It's very short, so we can even play it right now, but it's really just walking them through all the expectations. So if you want to click on assessment center video. You don't have to play the whole thing, but just so you can see it.
I just wanted to know where we would find it.
Oh, okay. It's provided to parents as they're setting up the arrangements to come over to the evaluation center to have their child assessed.
Okay.
And it's sent to them in a link.
Okay. Dr. Therosian, are you able to share the newsletter with us? Are we able to get that and to see that from Ms. Johnson?
Certainly. It is on the website, but I will send you both the link to the assessment center video as well as the September monthly newsletter. Because I do believe the monthly newsletter is on the distance learning page, right?
Yes, and it's also, if they have access to this slide deck right here, can click on it after this too and go right to it. And then you'll see all the other links in there.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to know if Strong and Paths is offered in Spanish also.
We haven't had any parents come that have had that need, but it can be, absolutely. But yeah, so far the parents who are participating, we originally started off with having a translator and interpreter, and then there wasn't any individuals coming that were in need of it. So we can absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And my last question, I'm confused about the mention of CELC. Is CELC the location where you are doing this, or is it just for young students?
No, just like the adult transition evaluation center is not just for adults, it's just the location that we're using. The CELC is also the location. Now, with that said, we're also doing the preschool evaluations at the CELC.
Well,
so, yeah, it's just opening up the possibility for them. It's difficult to bring them over to the adult transition program, just the height of the equipment and stuff. So we wanted to get that other location open, but it is available for others. For example, our occupational therapist room that's over at the CELC, all the occupational therapists will be able to use that space to assess their students over at the CELC.
Thank you so much for this information.
Ritza.
Okay, I'm off mute. Thank you. Great report out here. There's a lot of information. Obviously, you and your staff have been working diligently on trying to roll out all these programs in a virtual environment. And I saw the assessment video. It was very well done and it was easy to follow. And Ms. Lockerbie did ask one of my questions regarding information in Spanish if there's a need. Follow up to that, for your parents and guardians for special needs students, is there a Parent Square group or communication thread for just those parents? Because on Parent Square, if they've designated Spanish as the language to receive the communications, it would come out in Spanish to them. So just an idea there if it's not being implemented.
Yeah, our flyers and information are translated in Spanish. We just haven't had any show up for the actual meetings to come that need the oral interpretation to take place. But it's absolutely open for that to happen. And then the videos that were created, they're not in Spanish, but the paperwork that we're sending and the screening and also the detailed written action plan is all in Spanish. So if we have a Spanish-speaking family, those documents are being sent to them in Spanish. And then we have somebody who's the greeter that's going out to the car, such as Javier Ruiz or Liana Becerra, that speaks Spanish as the one who's meeting the parent and speaking with them in Spanish. So when they are coming to the evaluation center, I just want to make sure that that was clarified, that we do have someone there that can speak Spanish with the parent and make sure that the questions that they're being asked is in their language.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then I have one other question, and you may not have the answers tonight, and that's okay, but with the specialized cohorts, have you received guidance or are you working on this as part of your subcommittee to establish the criteria of what students would be placed in the specialized cohorts?
Yeah, we've received a ton of guidance. That's just, we're sorting through it all. And what I kind of told the subcommittee yesterday when we met is we're going to just have to take this little bit by bit. And right now we're going to focus on getting the in-person assessments available at the school site location, because that's really what most of the staff is in need of immediately. So we can, they kind of feel like they're being, they have all these assessments that need to be done. And then there's like a funnel to get them to be able to take place at these primary locations. So if we can open that up, and then once we meet again, then we'll start looking at the other options. So it's not that they're not being looked at, but there's just a plethora of information coming at us. So we are still sorting through it all. And we wanted to also give an opportunity for the current learning labs or learning pods, if you will, to get started and up and running on the school locations. And then we'll come in after that, after we see how that's all flowing, and we'll get our assessments going, and then we'll circle back with the subcommittee.
Great. Great. I also want to thank the parents that are volunteering to be part of the subcommittee, because we know that this is, it takes a lot of time out of their schedules as well as they're dealing with the distance learning with their children. So thank you for your commitment and making sure that the parents have a voice on this as well.
Yeah, and I won't call them out because I don't want to embarrass them, but they know who they are, and those who are coming, we genuinely appreciate. Like, they bring so many things to the table, and a lot of times it's after the meeting because they won't necessarily speak up in it, but they'll send me an email afterwards. And it's really enlightening and very helpful, because we need to hear what they're having to say. So they'll tell us maybe after the fact their true opinion of it. And I want them to keep doing that, because that's what's bringing light to what really needs to happen. So we're very grateful for the 4 that are coming on a consistent basis. And I know it's difficult for them. They all have little ones, and they're struggling to come into the meetings, and they're telling me they're too long, but we have a lot to cover. So I very much want to show just gratitude for them coming all the time. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? But Jennifer, on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank you. We know that this is your job, but it's your vocation. And you guys have all done a tremendous job all summer long to get us to this point here. There's going to be a lot of news coming out into the community in the next couple of weeks about learning pods. And so pay attention, because it's all going to be coming out really quick here. And thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you to our parents who have taken the time out of their day to be advocates for not only their children, but every other child that's in our system. So I would be remiss if I did not thank you for all the extra time that you spend. This is not a 9-to-5 job for you. I understand.
No, thank you. I appreciate that recognition. And please know that it's the entire special education department. Like we all say, we're jokingly saying when it hits midnight, well, guys, we're going to turn into a pumpkin. We need to get to bed so we can get back at it tomorrow. There are lots of long nights, but it's all of them. It's the entire team, the paraprofessionals, everyone's kicked it up. I'm really just hoping that we can sustain it, because there's I'm really concerned about staff burning out, but they're hanging in there and they're doing an amazing job, and we'll do what we can to keep the wind in their sails.
Well, it's all going to be worth it when we get it done right for the kids. Thank you.
Yep, that's what keeps them going. They're all doing it for their kids. They are definitely a passionate group of individuals, relentless in all the right ways.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Have a great night, board.
Okay, thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen. Go home. She's still in the office. Next up, we have, and really Jennifer and her entire team are extraordinary. And our kids are the better because of their hard work and passion and compassion. Next up, we have Dr. Darvin Jackson. This guy. Dr. Doctor's over here. This guy's over here.
We got 2 doctors.
And I turned it over to him to talk about the COVID-19 exposure management plan, which is required for any potential reopening of our schools. Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Board President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Terosian, cabinet, community members. This evening, I'm joined by our district nurse and resident expert, Katrina Kusai, to provide you with a general overview of the MUSD exposure management plan and protocols for reopening. I think we all know it's a very important topic to ensure we're able to provide a safe, positive learning and working environment during this pandemic for all. And whether it's learning pods or bringing back other small groups of cohorts, special education, English language learners, etc., this plan will apply to all. The plan was created by the COVID-19 task force at the district level, which consisted of classified certificated staff, site and district administrators, and reviewed by one of our local community physicians, who also is a MUSD parent. So I want to just take this opportunity to thank all who assisted in this process. Next slide. We've taken every precaution to raise the awareness of those individuals who may be possibly infected by COVID-19 by providing all employees with the necessary information. Infected persons are those confirmed to be infected with COVID-19 or individuals that may display any of the following symptoms listed here: fever, headache, loss of taste and smell, etc. They are considered infectious 48 hours before their symptoms appear. And these symptoms were generated by the LA County Department of Public Health, and that's the guidance that we've been following since March 13, transitioning into school dismissal. Next slide. The guidance from the LA County Public Health Department requires individuals who have a positive result or display COVID-like symptoms, who are presumed to be positive by their healthcare provider, to isolate at home for at least 10 days. Timelines vary on a case-by-case basis, but our district nurse, Katrina, works closely with the County Department of Health to receive that guidance and provide that insight to any impacted employees at this time, and would do the same with our students. Criteria to end isolation includes having no fever for 24 hours, respiratory symptoms improving, and 10 days have elapsed from the onset of the first symptoms. Those asymptomatic individuals testing positive must isolate for 10 days from the day the test was taken. Symptomatic individuals follow the aforementioned guidance. Next slide. Many have asked, how do I know if I'm considered a close contact? A close contact is identified as an individual who was within 6 feet of the infected person for more than 15 minutes, or an individual who had unprotected contact with an infected person's body fluids and/or secretion. This is why it is important that all individuals follow all safety protocols set in place. It will decrease the chances of getting exposed and being identified as a close contact. Per the county public health guidance, those considered close contacts shall quarantine for 14 days, which is considered the incubation period for the virus. Next slide. So the protocols for staff are similar to those of students. The following protocols are to be followed depending on the nature of the issue. If staff is experiencing symptoms, they shall notify their administrator if they're at the site, or if they're at the district office, then their direct supervisor. The administrator will collaborate with the district nurse and continue to follow the protocols provided. Symptomatic staff are sent home and also directed to contact their physician, as we cannot diagnose them. Their physician will recommend next steps. If they do not have a physician, then they can call 211 or go to a link that will be provided on the district or site website that will provide them with additional resources. Those individuals that tend to have displayed symptoms may have had a cough, runny nose, or sore throat, and it could have been due to allergies. But their physician may clear them, and we would stop at that point, and they would be able to return to work. However, if the physician believes they are infected, they may order a COVID test or place the individual on isolation per their guidance. If results are positive, we continue on with our steps, initiating detailed documentation, as we will want to know the timeline for exposure, who could be considered a close contact, to share all of this info with the Department of Public Health. We also use this info to determine when the positive case and those that were considered close contact should return to work. Those areas that were impacted would have signs posted, "Do not enter," and would remain closed until the areas are disinfected with our fogging machines. Fogging machines have been purchased for all sites, and they have been received to date. Head custodians have received training, and the remainder of the custodial teams began training this week. Next slide. As previously indicated, the same process would hold true for students. The only difference is that students who become symptomatic while on campus would be sent to a secondary sick room on campus to await pickup from the parent or guardian. Each site has identified this particular location, and Katrina has been working with the sites on these procedures diligently. We've presented the protocols for those that have tested positive and are asymptomatic. We will now transition to our protocols that are proactive and preventative in nature, if there are no questions.
Any questions, Darvin?
I have a question. If a staff member is sent home, is it like a normal sick day? I mean, if their nose is running and they're thinking, I'm not sick, and they don't want to use a sick day, how does that work?
So we've been proceeding with an abundance of caution because the site administrator or district initiated that direction. That day specifically would be considered an administrative paid leave. The normal turnaround time that we've seen for people to get in to see a physician, because most people have access to virtual assessments, is normally a one-day turnaround or so. Again, for those individuals who may not have a physician, then we have access to free testing. And once we receive that additional guidance, that then triggers that emergency paid sick leave that they potentially would be using. If, on the other hand, individuals have been deemed able to return to work and they want to stay out for an additional time frame to get in, to get tested, and then there's a delay, then they would be utilizing their personal time to do so based on the fact that a physician has cleared them to return to work.
So basically, we're giving them one day as an administrative day to go either do an online or a physical test to get a note or direction from a physician to say, stay home or go back to work. If they take more than the one administrative day that we're giving them, then it is automatically a sick day until it's resolved.
Yeah. Yes, that's been the general trend.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Thank you, Darvin.
Okay. I'm going to transition us to the protocols that we must implement to reopen a site or schools in general. All sites must create and maintain their own COVID-19 task force. So as previously mentioned, this document that was presented today was created by a district level COVID-19 task force. And now we're in that process of transitioning to each site having their own task force. They will work collaboratively with that district COVID-19 task force, as each site has different logistical settings. For example, just ingress and egress to the campus. You can, think of Monrovia High School that has multiple access points, whereas say Plymouth may have one or two. These plans must be shared with all stakeholders, and we will be doing so with parents and students in the coming weeks. Our Director of Special Education, administrators and service providers have been working with families since the March 13th dismissal to ensure equitable access to services, as you heard earlier from our Director of Special Education. Next slide. All sites and facilities are required to have signs posted related to symptoms, physical distancing, and mask requirements, one-way signs, etc. The sites are in the process of establishing their points of entry and flow of traffic throughout the buildings. In addition, no staff, student, or visitor will be allowed to enter the site without completing a brief health survey through the use of a QR code linked to the survey or on Parent Square or Google Docs. Temperature checks will be conducted where feasible. 4 sites have implemented the use of the QR codes and or the health screening survey. Currently, it's the district office, CLC, Technology, Canyon, and Mountain Park. We've calendared the rollout of additional sites in the next 2 weeks to limit the amount of technical access issues the technology department would be required to address in the moment. Next slide. The district has committed significant resources to provide the appropriate personnel protective equipment for our staff and students upon their return. Each site already has adequate amount of supplies and can request additional from the warehouse at any time. And I just want to take an opportunity to thank Ms. Wu and Mr. Fernando Martinez, as they have been front and center ensuring that we have these adequate supplies for our staff members at this time. Next slide. I've mentioned the health screening process previously. These procedures will also be posted on the websites as well as communicated through Parent Square. Students will also have the ability through Student Square to be able to complete their surveys prior to coming to campus. We will strongly encourage our staff and or families to perform the health screening prior to arriving at school and continue to emphasize the need to stay home if they answer yes to any of the questions. And those questions specifically are, have you traveled outside the country within 14 days? And then as you previously saw on the slide, have you exhibited any of those symptoms? Next slide. The County Health Department has provided guidance for classroom settings as well. One student assigned to a desk and placed at least 6 feet away from the next one. Students shall not share devices or materials to limit the COVID-19 transmission. Students should remain within the same cohort of students, and siblings should be part of this cohort where possible. Adults supervising the cohort should be the same, and again, that's where feasible. Next slide. Hand washing procedures must be posted throughout our sites and facilities. In addition, staff and students must be properly trained on this process. We actually have some great training videos that were provided by ASKIP, our insurance carrier, that we will be making available to staff and students. So not only did they provide fire trucks to protect our schools at the northernmost side of the community during the fire, but they also are providing us these trainings during this pandemic. So thank you to ASKIP. Next slide. Site administrators, in collaboration with our custodians, have already created schedules for cleaning of high traffic areas, and this is occurring on a daily basis. Restrooms are cleaned hourly, and deep cleaning occurs based on the needs of the site and the number of people that are on site on a daily basis. Next slide. As communicated in our exposure management protocols, where a positive case is identified, those affected areas will be closed until the custodial team can disinfect the area with our fogging machines. We must use only chemicals that are approved by the Environmental Protection Agency, also known as EPA, per recommendations from the CDC. It has taken some time to construct these measures, and as mentioned, sites are in the process of making sure we are adhering to these guidelines and preparing to receive students and staff en masse when feasible. Again, I know I did it early on, but I'd like to just thank Katrina for leading the district through this process, and all stakeholders who have contributed and will be contributing, as it is important to all who are coming to our sites to adhere to the procedures and expectations, which lends to the safety of all. Any questions?
Any questions of Darvin? Very thorough report. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Celine, I saw you, Celine.
I'm still here. I have two questions. One, you mentioned the health questionnaire that everyone has to fill out before they come onto campus. I wanted to know if it was specific only to COVID symptoms, because as we move into flu season, that's a concern, and I want to know if the questions are specific to COVID, and if they are, if they can be expanded a little bit, or if the symptoms for the flu are the same as COVID.
So I'm going to defer to Katrina because she sits in on the weekly meetings with the county health department, and Dr. Gilcheck and Dr. Ferrer. Katrina?
Hello, everybody. Just to clarify, the two questions pretty much asked in regards to the symptoms, and the second question is if you have been around anybody that has been diagnosed with COVID or have COVID-like symptoms, anybody in the home. As of now, it's only the listed symptoms with COVID, like the loss of taste, everything that's listed there. But a lot of that will also be the same symptoms as the flu. And like Darvin had mentioned, we cannot diagnose anybody. You know, the only thing that really can diagnose somebody being infected is the actual test. So if their healthcare provider feels that they need to have a test, they will be ordered one.
Thank you for that information. My second question is, I know it doesn't sound extremely important, but for a 6-year-old it is. What's the protocol for playground equipment? Are we keeping children off of that, or are we disinfecting it?
You want to take that, or you want me to take it, Darvin?
You have the most recent information. Celine's head might pop on this one.
So with the last telebriefing that I had, according to Dr. Ferrer, as long as the playground is used by the same cohort and is disinfected before the next cohort comes in, it is safe to use. So if we're talking about 12 students per cohort, that 12 using the playground, it's fine. But once you're bringing another set of cohort in, there needs to be some time where it needs to be disinfected and dried per manufacturer recommendation.
Thank you. Those are my two questions. Thank you very much for the information.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes. So these are the protocols once we open. And obviously, as we were watching the news, and the county says they're getting closer and closer to open. And maybe this is more of a Kathy question, to explain what the protocols are for us truly to open and make that decision to open up. I don't want people to think because they've heard on the news that LA County can come back to school that they need to bring their kids in the next day. So could you go through that process a little bit on what we will be doing to make the determination of when people come back?
Why don't I take this one? Thanks. You're right. There's a distinction between the Department of Public Health accepting waivers and whether or not we are ready to submit waivers for, and this is in LA County, TK through second grade only. Our process, what we need to make sure is done is something that I reviewed, I think, last week in our presentation about the waiver process, the COVID exposure plan needing to be documented at every school. We are only at the district level right now, but we have not finalized these protocols at every school. We have begun work, but we have not yet finalized those. We need to consult with our associations. We need to consult with our, and communicate widely with our parents. And frankly, we would need to finalize our hybrid model, which we have not yet done. So we are not yet ready to submit a plan, but we are working towards it. What I can do during our next board meeting is review those slides, since when I presented them the last time I presented them, there didn't seem to be any imminent possibility of opening up.
Thank you.
No, I just want to say again, things change so rapidly, and that is another reason why these weekly report outs are so critical, not just for us as board members as we make decisions going forward, but for the public to understand the complexities of what we're facing with the constant guidance, the constant changes coming out from Sacramento and Los Angeles County, which are our governing agencies. So I look forward to hearing more about that. I know that there have been some tweaks already to the hybrid plan based on feedback from parents. So I do look forward to hearing more about that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks. Kathy, anything else you'd like to add?
Just another thank you to Dr. Jackson and to Ms. Quase. Katrina, you might remember her from last week. She was one of our employees of the month. She has been extraordinary. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm sitting outside, it's dark. She is always in the light. And Katrina, you bring us into the light all the time. Thank you for all that you do, and the number of hours that you've committed to getting all of our various programs up to speed has been just extraordinary. And I have come to rely on your expertise. So thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments from anybody? Then we'll move forward. Dr. Tarosian, the amendment to the facility use agreement.
Yes, President Hammond, members of the board, we have just a minor change to the facility use agreement with the Boys and Girls Club that had been approved on September 9th, I believe. In it, we talk about a partnership, and a partnership is actually a technical term, not just from the heart, we are partners. And we do not in any way oversee the program or go through the guidelines. I'm not sure what their COVID mitigation plan is, though I know that they have one. So just to make sure that our facility use agreement clarifies that this is a different entity, a third party, providing a need for our students at Mayflower. And so the only change is deleting the term partnership while maintaining the greatest appreciation for all that the Boys and Girls Club do, and appreciation for John Wilson's commitment to the students and families of this district.
Any questions of Dr. Terosian? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Huff, will you please call the roll?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Javanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We will be having our regular scheduled board meeting. It's soon. Gosh, the dates have just run together here.
I believe, President Hammond, our next meeting will be a special meeting.
It will be a special meeting in between, one more special meeting before the regular board
special
meeting.
Next Wednesday at October 7th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you. I didn't have it there, and I just realized that we're at the end of the month and it's not the second Wednesday yet.
No.
So we'll have an update for everybody. We'll also pay attention to all the directives that are coming out of the school district. Right now, there's a lot of information that's going to be coming out about things that you'll find of interest. If there's no further business before this body, we will stand.
Real quick, I just wanted to confirm when we're having the state of the schools.
October 21st.
October the 21st. Perfect.
And without anything else, if there's no further business before this body, we will stand adjourned at 8:14. Good night, y'all.
Good night, y'all.